Good afternoon. I am going to just lead you through a couple extra examples from what you did in Algebra 1 today, and I want to make sure that we call attention to some places where I know people make the same mistakes year after year, so I just want to make sure that you're good. You may want to have out your notes from Algebra 1 and either add these to them, or if you have gotten the notebook that you're supposed to have for my class, it would be really great if you could be writing these notes into the notebook. There's only 3 examples, so this is not going to take you a whole lot of work. You also might want out with your notes from Algebra 1 that list that's in your notes that shows you what some of these specific words mean. So if you recall, what you were doing today in algebra is taking something that's written out in words and then translating it into a mathematical expression or equation. So I'm going to start with this first one that you see on your screen, and I apologize for my poor writing. My pen isn't working right now. So as we work our way across what it says here, we have 50, and then we see this phrase right here, less than. Less than, if you look at your sheet, means to subtract, but you probably have that marked somehow on your sheet, boxed in or starred or something. And if you don't, you might want to, because when we're dealing with less than, we are going to reverse the order of the two things that we're subtracting. So as we move forward here, eventually we're going to flip what came before the phrase less than and what comes after the phrase less than when we actually write it into an expression. So then here we have this generic a number. When you see that, that means that you can use any variable that you want to use. So I'm going to stick with x because I know that that's our most common go-to. And then again, because of less than, we're going to switch the order of these two when we go to write the expression. So I am going to have x coming first. We said that less than means we're going to subtract. And then after the subtraction sign, we are going to have 50. So this is the expression that you can create from the phrase that was given to you. Now looking at this one that you see on the screen, it says twice a number increased by 20. So I'm just going to work through this like we did the last one, and I want to start with the word twice. So if you look at your notes from Algebra 1, you should see that twice is written in the multiplication column, but the specific about twice is that when we see twice, we are multiplying by 2 every time. So twice means to multiply by 2. So we have twice a number. Remember, a number means use any variable that you want to. I'm just going to keep sticking with x for what we're doing here. And then we have this phrase increased by. So again, if you look at your notes from Algebra 1, you should be able to find that phrase increased by on there. And that is in the column where you have addition. So this tells us that we are going to be adding, and the number that we're going to be adding is 20. So now as we try to write this, so we are multiplying by 2. So we had twice. And what is it that we're multiplying by 2? Well, what we're multiplying by 2 is a number, which is our x. So we're really taking x times 2. And remember, the easiest way to write that mathematically is to just write 2x. When we squeeze a number and a variable together in math, that means that we are multiplying those two things. And then we have increased by. That means that we are going to add. And what we're adding to it is 20. Now, as we look at this one, this is the last one I'm going to move through with you. We see some words and some things that we have not yet seen. So I'm going to start with this phrase, the quotient. So if you look at that paper that you have from Algebra 1 and you find quotient, you should be seeing that quotient means that we are going to divide. So That's one of your words that means to divide. And we're finding the quotient of a number. So again, that's our generic variable. So that's where we're going to use x, and 3. So these are the things that we're finding the quotient of. What's important to remember about quotient or any other word that means to divide is that order matters when we are dividing. So the two operations for which order matters are division and subtraction. So order matters when we are dividing. We need to make sure that when we set this up, when we write out the expression or equation, that the two things that we are dividing stay in the same order that they were listed here. So that means that x is going to come first and then 3. And then we have decreased by. So again, if you reference your sheet, you should see decreased by falling in the category that means we're going to subtract, and we're decreasing by 8. And then the last thing that I see here, which is new, is the word is. So again, this is on your sheet though. This is something you should have seen in Algebra 1. If you find is on your sheet, you're going to see that that is what is telling you that this time we are writing an equation, not an expression. So now let's go and try to put this together. So we're dividing, and we said we're going to keep these in order. So we're taking x divided by 3. Decrease by, we said that means to subtract. So from that, we are subtracting 8. And it tells us that that is equal to 13. Now, I want to show you one thing here. This is not the only way that you could write this. And I want you to know this because this is probably the most common way that you might go to write it right now, but it is not the most common way that you would see it written if somebody was going to give you something like this. So it's not too often in Algebra 1 that we will actually write the division symbol. Instead, we tend to go to the fraction setup because remember, a fraction bar also means to divide. So the more common way that you would see this same thing written is to see it like this. So you're going to now move on in your module, and you will find the rest of what I'm asking you to do today. And then tomorrow I will be back with you with another lesson on order of operations. Have a good day.